What was your very first performance that you remember as a kid or in school? When's the first time you were in the spotlight or on a stage?
It's a great question and one that I often ask talent. Um, you know, the thing that comes to my mind really is the first time that I made my mom uncontrollably laugh. Um, and I was really, really young, and we were looking for a restaurant in Newburyport, Massachusetts, which is on the water. And we had become disoriented, and she was trying to remember where this particular seafood restaurant was. And I said, well, why don't we walk down that way? And she said, and she said, no, it's on the water. And I said something like, well, how silly of me to think that a seafood restaurant would be near a pier, because she wanted to go in the other direction. It's not that funny, except for it was specific to the situation, and I saw how she relaxed and laughed because she was like so tense about this. And again, I was pretty young, single digits, and it just made an impression. And like a lot of us performers coming from an environment, a household that maybe had some dysfunction or some irregularities, my job was absolutely to keep it up, keep it light. And those are my early interactions with knowing how important humor was, how important and how valuable it can be to take a moment and flip the script, and take something that's really shitty and turn it into something really funny. I was educated by Catholic nuns, so there was not a lot of pleasant memories, because most of the time when I was performing in Catholic school, I was severely, either physically beaten or reprimanded, verbally for it. So so I'm a survivor, I'm a Catholic survivor. But I think the family humor is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because that is such a common thing. Anytime you hear actors or comedians, especially comedians, they're like, when did this start? And like a large percentage will say it was a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism at home. My mom was sad and I used to like to cheer her up, or my dad was mad and in order for him to not hit me, I would like, this is not me, I'm not saying this,
Right.
but a lot of people say that, where it was like I knew he would come home from work or he was out with the boys and he'd come home liquored up, and that was the beat down time. And if I cracked a few jokes, then I would be on his side. So it's or from something from school too, where in order to fit in, you're cracking jokes, or in order to not be bullied, you're making jokes. I mean, in life, I think that is what humor is. It's a coping mechanism to deal with all the other shit, so we don't go insane. Uh,
Right.
and
Right.
it's such a like the worst scenario. It's like I've been at funerals before where it's a terrible circumstance, and it's like a loved one whispers something in your ear and cracks you up in what normally would not be a scenario where you'd want to be laughing, but it brings some levity to the situation. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And it's such a fine line, everything is absurd, everything is absurd. Even death, and dying, you know. My son created a really funny, I don't know that we want to go down, this kind of storytelling lane, but my mom, since she just came up, on her deathbed, we had like all but said goodbye, and it was really peaceful, and I gave her a manicure and a facial, and she was seeing my grandpa, and she was kind of off somewhere. And my son, who was wearing like a tie-dye Hampton Beach crazy sweatshirt, was just not quite paying attention to the scenario. And he clapped his hands really loud and said, Grandma, I love that you moved the bed closer to the window. And she kind of came to, and we did the whole thing all over again. And he was just so he, like exactly what we're talking about, was kind of uncomfortable with the silence and just started up talk. And you know, we had like another visit, and we all laugh about it. We're all, you know, it's a funny memory. It's a funny memory. So I think recycling emotions, taking things that have happened to us, being able to have our emotions easily accessed but managed, is really the work of the actor and the director together, because sometimes it can be overwhelming, but it can be recycled, reused, and repurposed, all of our emotions. And if I wasn't able to perform and work with performers, oh, I would for sure be nutty as a fruitcake. Yeah, yeah.
More nutty.
More nutty. Functional nutty, as I say now.